happiness is something that we all strive for. It's often seen as the ultimate goal in life, something that we chase, something that we think we need in order to feel fulfilled. But what exactly is happiness? We often confuse it with fleeting pleasures or external achievements such as getting a promotion, buying a new car, or going on a dream vacation. While these things can bring us joy in the moment, true happiness is much deeper and more lasting. It's not about what we acquire, but rather how we approach life and the relationships we nurture. When we talk about being happy, we need to understand that it's an internal state, not something dictated by the circumstances around us. The happiness that lasts is the one that comes from within how we view ourselves and the world. It's the way we respond to challenges, how we find peace in the midst of chaos, and how we maintain joy despite what's going on outside. Think about it. When you're happy inside, you carry that energy with you, and it influences everything around you. People notice it. It's almost magnetic. We've all heard the phrase, happiness is a choice. It sounds almost too simple to be true, but it's real. The key to this idea lies in understanding that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. It's about making a conscious decision to focus on what we have rather than what we lack. Happiness doesn't come from getting everything we want, but rather from appreciating what we already have. When we shift our focus to gratitude, we start to see the world through a different lens. Instead of seeing problems, we start to see opportunities. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, we feel empowered. And this shift doesn't just affect us individually, it affects the way we interact with others. Have you ever noticed that when someone is genuinely happy, they tend to draw people to them? There's something contagious about positivity. It's as if happiness creates an invisible force that pulls others in. True happiness also involves accepting ourselves fully. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we need to be perfect to be happy. But the truth is, happiness isn't about being flawless. It's about being comfortable with who we are, embracing our flaws, and finding joy in our uniqueness. The more we accept ourselves, the more we allow others to accept us too. And when that happens, the connections we create are much deeper and more meaningful. Happiness is not something we find once and then hold on to forever. It's a continual process, a mindset we need to nurture daily. It's in the way we choose to think, the way we approach each day, and the way we treat others. By starting with ourselves and recognizing that true happiness lies within, we begin to see the world in a different way. And from that place of inner happiness, we can create and maintain relationships that are grounded in joy, positivity, and mutual respect. In the end, it's this inner happiness, this peace with ourselves, that allows us to truly connect with others and watch them come running, drawn to the energy we radiate. When we talk about happiness as an internal state, it's crucial to understand that happiness is not something that happens to us. It's not about waiting for the right circumstances, the right people, or the right moment to be happy. True happiness comes from within, from how we approach life and the way we see ourselves. The way we perceive our own lives and our own worth has a powerful impact on the way we experience the world. And when we truly embrace happiness from within, it reflects in everything we do and everyone we meet. A key part of this internal happiness is learning to cultivate self-love. For many of us, the biggest barrier to happiness is the way we treat ourselves. We often criticize ourselves more than anyone else could. We focus on our weaknesses, on our mistakes, and on the things we wish were different about ourselves. But happiness begins when we let go of that critical voice and learn to accept ourselves for who we truly are. Self-love is not about being arrogant or thinking we're better than others. It's about recognizing our own value and worth as individuals. When we love ourselves, we're able to embrace our imperfections and flaws without judgment. This acceptance is the foundation of lasting happiness. When we build a strong sense of self-love, we start to see the world differently. We stop looking for validation from others because we no longer need it. We start to feel worthy of love, respect, and happiness without having to earn it. This shift in perspective allows us to approach life with a greater sense of peace. We stop comparing ourselves to others and start appreciating our own journey. We understand that our happiness isn't tied to anyone else's approval. And as a result, we begin to live life more authentically. At the same time, we need to recognize that happiness is not a destination, it's a process. It's about creating habits that nurture our well-being every single day. One powerful way to do this is through gratitude. When we focus on what we're thankful for, we start to shift our energy. It's easy to get caught up in what we don't have or what's going wrong in our lives, but practicing gratitude reminds us of everything that is going right. Gratitude brings us back to the present moment and allows us to appreciate the beauty of what is already here. Research has shown that when we take time each day to reflect on the things we're grateful for, we increase our overall sense of happiness. It shifts our mindset from scarcity to abundance, helping us see the world as a place full of possibility rather than a place of lack. It doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or difficulties we may face, but rather recognizing that even in the hardest times, there are still blessings to be found. The practice of gratitude helps us focus on the good, and that's where happiness begins. Another powerful element of internal happiness is resilience. Life isn't always easy. We all face setbacks, struggles, and challenges. But the way we respond to these challenges determines how happy we'll be in the long run. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about learning how to bounce back from it. It's about finding strength in difficult times and using those experiences to grow. When we cultivate resilience, we start to see setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than roadblocks to our happiness. We learn to take each challenge in stride, knowing that our ability to adapt and persevere is what allows us to continue moving forward. It's also important to remember that happiness is not about perfection. We often think that in order to be happy, we need to have everything figured out. But the truth is, happiness is found in the journey, not the destination. It's in the little moments, the everyday experiences that make up our lives. When we embrace the idea that we don't need to have it all together, we open ourselves to more joy. Happiness comes when we let go of the need for perfection and start appreciating the present moment for what it is, not what we wish it to be. At the core of internal happiness is the ability to find peace with ourselves, to be comfortable in our own skin. This peace doesn't come from having everything go perfectly in life, but from understanding that we are enough just as we are. It's about accepting the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and knowing that we are worthy of happiness no matter what. When we embrace this inner happiness, we begin to see the world through a lens of positivity. We become more resilient, more grateful, and more self-compassionate. And this shift in perspective changes the way we engage with the world around us. It makes us more open to building strong, meaningful relationships because we're no longer seeking validation from others. We're simply sharing our joy with them. It's when we are at peace with ourselves that we truly begin to experience the fullness of life. And it's from this place of internal happiness that we can watch others come running toward us, drawn to the energy we radiate. Ultimately, true happiness is not a fleeting emotion or a temporary high. It's a state of being that comes from nurturing our inner world. It's a mindset, a choice, and a way of life. And once we embrace it, we begin to see the world and our relationships transform in beautiful ways. When we talk about building relationships through happiness, it's essential to recognize the profound impact that our own inner state has on those around us. The truth is, happiness isn't just something that benefits us individually, it has a ripple effect. When we are genuinely happy, we don't just create positive energy for ourselves, we naturally spread that energy to others. People are drawn to happiness. Think about the people in your life who radiate positivity. They have a way of making you feel uplifted, of making the world seem brighter when you're around them. It's not about perfection, and it's not about always being in a good mood. It's about how they approach life with a sense of joy, gratitude, and acceptance. And because of that, their relationships are stronger, more meaningful, and filled with warmth. Happiness is contagious. Have you ever noticed how a smile from a stranger can brighten your day? Or how spending time with someone who's genuinely upbeat can lift your spirits? That's the magnetic power of happiness. When you carry positivity within you, you're not only improving your own life, but also enhancing the lives of others. It's like a light that draws people in, offering them a sense of comfort, peace, and hope. When we approach our relationships with an open heart and a positive mindset, we become magnets for other people's love and positivity. The energy we radiate invites others to join us in that space, creating a stronger bond of connection. Moreover, happiness in relationships isn't about being happy all the time. It's about the ability to share those moments of joy, even in the midst of struggles. The most meaningful relationships are not built on perfect moments, but on the understanding that happiness is a shared experience. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, when we let others see us as we truly are flaws and all, we invite deeper connections. In fact, happiness can act as a glue that strengthens relationships even during tough times. If we can find joy in the small moments, even when life isn't perfect, we show those around us that happiness doesn't have to be contingent on external circumstances. It's a state of mind that can be nurtured even in the face of adversity. Think about the moments you've shared with others when things weren't going well, but you were still able to find humor or gratitude in the situation. Maybe you were going through a tough time with a close friend or family member, yet the ability to share a laugh or reflect on something positive strengthened that relationship. Those moments are often the ones that bring people closer together because they show the power of happiness to transcend challenges. When we focus on the positive, it brings out the best in others and creates a sense of unity. In contrast, when we focus solely on negativity, it pushes people away. Happiness builds bridges while negativity puts up walls. Additionally, when we are happy and content within ourselves, we're more likely to offer kindness and empathy to others. Happiness opens our hearts to those around us. When we are at peace with ourselves, we are less likely to be defensive or reactive in our interactions. We become more patient, more understanding, and more willing to listen. Our happiness gives us the emotional space to be present for others, to offer them support, and to celebrate their victories. Happiness allows us to see beyond our own needs and connect with others on a deeper level. This kind of connection is the foundation of any strong relationship. But building relationships through happiness isn't just about the energy we bring, it's also about how we nurture those relationships. The more we share happiness with others, the stronger those bonds become. It's important to show appreciation for the people in our lives, to acknowledge their efforts, and to express gratitude for their presence. Simple acts of kindness, whether it's a kind word, a thoughtful gesture. The beauty of building relationships through happiness is that it's not just about creating strong connections with others, it's about creating a better version of ourselves. Happiness helps us become more empathetic, more compassionate, and more giving. It makes us want to share our joy with those around us, and in doing so, we become better partners, friends, and family members. When we are truly happy, we stop focusing on what we can get from relationships, and instead, we focus on what we can give. And this shift in focus creates stronger, more fulfilling connections. At its core, happiness in relationships isn't about having perfect, trouble-free moments all the time. It's about the ability to stay connected, to find joy in the midst of chaos, and to share a common bond of positivity and love. It's about being able to support each other, laugh together, and grow together, no matter what life throws at you. And when we approach our relationships with happiness, we create a space for those around us to thrive as well. We show them what's possible when we choose happiness, and in doing so, we encourage them to do the same. And in the end, it's this shared joy that draws people toward us. And it's this kind of happiness that transforms relationships in ways we never imagined. Happiness, when shared with others, becomes an even more powerful force. There's a profound truth to the idea that when we give, we receive. This applies not only to material things, but to emotional and spiritual generosity as well. When we give happiness, whether through kindness, empathy, or simply sharing in the joy of others, it has a way of returning to us in ways we often don't expect. It's a beautiful cycle. When we give, we create a space for happiness to flourish, not just in ourselves, but in the lives of others as well. One of the most remarkable things about giving is that it doesn't require anything extravagant. It doesn't require grand gestures or big, expensive gifts. Often it's the small acts that have the most significant impact. A kind word, a thoughtful note, a helping hand when someone is in need. These are the things that create an environment of happiness. These small acts can brighten someone's day, lift their spirits, and make them feel seen and valued. The energy that we invest in others often comes back to us in unexpected ways. It creates a ripple effect where our happiness multiplies and touches the lives of everyone we interact with. Think about the times when someone has done something small for you, a friend who called just to check in, a colleague who offered to help with a task, or a family member who listened when you needed to talk. These small acts of kindness often have a lasting impact. Not only do they make us feel loved and appreciated, but they also foster a sense of connection and community. When we give, we strengthen our bonds with others, creating relationships that are built on trust, empathy, and mutual support. And when these bonds are strong, happiness naturally follows. People are drawn to those who make them feel good about themselves, and when we give happiness, we become those people. But the act of giving is not just about offering kindness to others, it's about sharing our joy, our enthusiasm, and our positivity. When we offer our happiness, it creates an uplifting environment. It's like sharing a light that helps others find their way. And in turn, this act of sharing doesn't just benefit the people around us, it nurtures our own happiness. Helping others, making them smile, and contributing to their sense of well-being creates a feeling of fulfillment that goes beyond just receiving. It deepens our own happiness in a way that material things or fleeting moments of pleasure never could. When we give, we also learn to be more selfless, to put others' needs above our own, even if just for a moment. And this selflessness is a key part of creating lasting happiness. It's about understanding that happiness isn't something we can hoard. The more we give, the more we create space for others to experience joy. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to receiving even more. There's a sense of satisfaction and peace that comes with knowing that our actions have made a positive difference in someone else's life. Additionally, giving doesn't just mean offering something tangible. It can also be about sharing time, attention, and emotional support. Often what people need most isn't a material gift, but the gift of presence. In a world that's so fast-paced, where everyone is constantly busy, the simple act of being there for someone can mean the world. Offering your undivided attention, actively listening, and showing empathy, these are gifts that can't be bought or wrapped in a box, but they're worth more than any material possession. And when we give our time and energy to others, we create deeper and more meaningful connections, which in turn strengthens our own sense of happiness. Another aspect of giving that often gets overlooked is the importance of self-giving. To truly share happiness with others, we first need to cultivate it within ourselves. Self-care and self-compassion are essential parts of this process. When we take care of ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally, we are better equipped to give to others. We cannot pour from an empty cup. So by making our own happiness a priority, we set ourselves up to be better givers in the long run. The happier we are within ourselves, the more we have to share with others. It's like a wellspring of positivity that flows freely when we take the time to nurture it. Happiness also grows when we give without expecting anything in return. Too often we think of giving as a transaction. If I give something, I expect something back. But the real beauty of giving is when it's done purely out of the desire to make someone else's life better. When we give with no strings attached, we open ourselves up to the possibility of receiving in unexpected ways. Sometimes the joy that comes from giving is its own reward. And when we don't place expectations on the outcome, we free ourselves from disappointment and allow the happiness to flow more freely. Moreover, giving creates a sense of community. It brings people together, fosters connection, and reinforces the idea that we are all part of something greater than ourselves. Whether we're sharing happiness with family, friends, co-workers, or even strangers, the act of giving cultivates a sense of belonging. We start to feel like we're contributing to something positive, that we're part of a collective effort to bring more love and joy into the world. And when we feel connected to others, we become happier ourselves. Happiness thrives in community, in shared experiences, and in the knowledge that we're all in this together. Ultimately, when we give happiness, we are creating an environment where joy can flourish. We nurture relationships, build stronger connections, and become more deeply invested in the well-being of others. And this, in turn, brings even more happiness into our own lives. It's a cycle of positivity that strengthens us, brings us closer to the people we care about, and allows us to make a meaningful impact in the world. So when we give, we're not just giving to others, we're giving to ourselves as well. And in doing so, we create a life filled with happiness, love, and deep, fulfilling connections. Happiness, at its core, is about perspective. How we choose to see the world shapes our experience of it. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that happiness is something we need to achieve, something that comes from external sources or from a specific moment in time when everything finally falls into place. But the truth is, happiness often begins when we shift our perspective, when we change how we look at life itself. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment, but about learning to see the beauty and joy in the moments we already have, even when life isn't perfect. We all know that life is full of ups and downs. There are times when things go our way, and there are times when it feels like everything is falling apart. But how we respond to those challenges can make all the difference in our experience of happiness. It's not about avoiding hardship or pretending that everything is always going well. It's about learning to embrace the challenges, to accept them as part of the journey, and to find meaning in them. When we change our perspective on life's obstacles, we begin to see them not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth. When we face challenges, it's natural to feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or even defeated. But in those moments, we have a choice. We can choose to see those challenges as something that's holding us back, or we can choose to see them as an opportunity to learn, to build resilience, and to grow stronger. This shift in perspective is crucial to maintaining happiness because it allows us to navigate life with a sense of purpose and meaning, even in difficult times. Every challenge becomes a chance to evolve, and when we see the world in this way, it's easier to stay grounded and content, no matter what comes our way. Another important aspect of perspective is understanding that happiness isn't a constant state, it's fluid, and it's normal for our emotions to fluctuate. We live in a world that often equates happiness with an unbroken sense of joy, but that's not realistic. Happiness is not about feeling happy all the time. It's about learning to find peace and contentment, even during the difficult moments. It's about accepting that life is full of contradictions. There will be times of joy and there will be times of pain, but both are part of the human experience. When we stop expecting constant happiness and accept that it ebbs and flows, we are better able to find peace within ourselves, regardless of the circumstances. This perspective on happiness also involves recognizing the power of gratitude. Gratitude is a mindset that allows us to focus on what we have rather than what we lack. It shifts our attention from the things that are going wrong in our lives to the things that are going right. And when we practice gratitude, we begin to notice all the small moments of joy and beauty that we might otherwise overlook. A simple moment of kindness, the warmth of the sun on our face, or a good conversation with a friend, all of these things contribute to our happiness. Gratitude helps us find joy in the present moment, rather than waiting for some future event or achievement to bring us happiness. The act of practicing gratitude is something we can all do every day. It doesn't take much effort, but the benefits are profound. When we consciously focus on the things we're thankful for, we train our minds to see the positive aspects of our lives, even when things are challenging. Gratitude helps us create a mindset of abundance, where we recognize the many blessings we already have. And this mindset is incredibly powerful. It shifts our perspective from scarcity to abundance, from lack to fulfillment. And when we see our lives as abundant, we naturally feel happier and more content. But it's also important to recognize that happiness isn't something we can control all the time. Life is unpredictable. And sometimes things happen that are beyond our control. But our perspective on those events is what ultimately determines how we respond. We can't always control the circumstances, but we can control how we choose to interpret them. If we see a setback as a failure, we may feel defeated. But if we see it as an opportunity for growth, we can approach it with a sense of purpose and determination. This change in perspective can transform the way we experience life and can help us find happiness even in difficult times. Another key aspect of perspective is learning to embrace imperfection. We live in a world that often values perfection, where success and achievement are celebrated above all else. But the truth is, perfection doesn't lead to happiness. Perfection is an illusion, and chasing it can often leave us feeling empty or dissatisfied. True happiness comes from accepting ourselves as we are, imperfections and all. When we stop striving for perfection and start embracing the beauty of our flaws, we create space for genuine happiness. We allow ourselves to be human, to make mistakes, and to grow from those experiences. This acceptance is essential for cultivating lasting happiness. Ultimately, our happiness is determined by how we choose to see the world. When we change our perspective, we change our experience of life. By embracing challenges, opportunities, focusing on gratitude, and accepting imperfection, we open ourselves up to a deeper, more lasting happiness. Life will always have its ups and downs, but with the right perspective, we can navigate it with a sense of peace and fulfillment. The key is to shift our mindset, to find joy in the present moment, and to recognize that happiness isn't something to be pursued. It's something that arises naturally when we choose to see the world with an open heart and an optimistic view. When we adopt this mindset, we begin to live life in a way that attracts not only happiness, but also meaningful connections with others. Happiness is deeply intertwined with our choices. It's easy to assume that happiness is something we're meant to stumble upon, that it's something external that will come into our lives at some point. But the truth is, happiness is something we actively create through the choices we make each and every day. The way we choose to respond to the world around us, how we react to challenges, and the decisions we make regarding our relationships all play a significant role in determining our level of happiness. It's not about having everything go perfectly. It's about making choices that align with our values and well-being. One of the most powerful choices we can make is to prioritize happiness. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the pressures of life, the demands of work, relationships, and responsibilities. We often think that happiness will come when we check off everything on our to-do list or when we finally reach a certain milestone. But the truth is, happiness isn't something that happens once we've completed everything. It's something we have to make space for, something we have to choose in the midst of everything else. Prioritizing happiness means making the conscious decision to take care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's about setting boundaries that protect our well-being and saying no to things that drain us. It's about recognizing that our time and energy are precious and that we can't pour from an empty cup. The more we focus on our own happiness, the more we're able to show up for the people we care about. When we take the time to nurture our own happiness, it radiates outward and has a positive impact on everyone around us. But prioritizing happiness isn't always easy. There are times when we feel overwhelmed by obligations or stuck in situations that don't seem to align with our sense of joy. During these moments, we have a choice. We can either let those circumstances control our mood and define our happiness, or we can choose to shift our focus. Happiness doesn't require perfect conditions. It requires a mindset that's willing to find joy even in the midst of challenges. It's about finding moments of peace, gratitude, and contentment, even in the busiest, most difficult times. An essential part of choosing happiness is learning to let go of things that no longer serve us. We often hold onto past experiences, negative emotions, or limiting beliefs that weigh us down and prevent us from experiencing the fullness of happiness. Letting go is a choice, and it's one that can be transformative. When we release grudges, regrets, or fears, we create space for happiness to enter our lives. This isn't to say that we should ignore our feelings or suppress them. It's about acknowledging what we're feeling and then choosing to move forward, not allowing those negative emotions to have the power to shape our happiness. Forgiveness is a powerful choice that can deeply affect our sense of happiness. Holding on to resentment or anger often keeps us tied to negative emotions that prevent us from experiencing peace. Forgiving others and ourselves frees us from the weight of those emotions. It doesn't mean we condone wrongdoing, but rather that we choose to release the hold that resentment has on us. When we forgive, we reclaim our power and make room for happiness to flourish. Forgiveness is an act of self-care as much as it is an act of kindness toward others. In addition to forgiveness, choosing happiness also means embracing positivity. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Our mindset plays a huge role in how we experience life. When we choose to focus on the positive, when we look for the good in people and situations, we're actively shaping our own happiness. This doesn't mean we ignore difficulties or put on a false smile. It means that we choose to approach life with a sense of hope, gratitude, and resilience. We actively seek out moments of joy, even when they feel small or fleeting. One of the most impactful choices we can make is to surround ourselves with people who uplift us. The people we spend time with have a profound influence on our mood and our outlook on life. If we are surrounded by negativity, it can be hard to stay positive. But when we surround ourselves with people who support us, who encourage us, and who share our values, our happiness grows. These relationships don't just provide us with joy, they remind us that happiness is a shared experience and that our connections with others are essential to our well-being. The power of choice is also evident in the way we approach our own personal growth. Happiness often comes when we stop comparing ourselves to others and start focusing on our own journey. It's about choosing to be content with where we are while still striving to improve and grow. The journey toward happiness isn't about perfection, it's about progress. By choosing to focus on the positive steps we've taken, the lessons we've learned, and the growth we've experienced, we allow ourselves to celebrate where we are right now instead of constantly chasing some future version of happiness. Another important choice in the pursuit of happiness is choosing to live authentically. When we choose to be true to ourselves, when we honor our values and beliefs, we invite happiness into our lives. Living authentically means letting go of the pressure to conform to others' expectations and instead embracing who we truly are. This authenticity creates a sense of peace and contentment because we no longer feel the need to put on a mask or pretend to be someone we're not. When we're genuine, we create deeper, more meaningful relationships, and we invite people into our lives who appreciate us for who we truly are. Choosing happiness also means choosing to make time for the things that bring us joy. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to forget to make time for the activities and passions that light us up. But when we choose to prioritize these things, whether it's a hobby, time with loved ones, or simply a quiet moment to ourselves, we're investing in our own happiness. These small daily choices add up over time and have a profound impact on our overall sense of well-being. Ultimately, happiness is not something that just happens to us. It's something we actively create through the choices we make every day. We can choose to focus on the positive, to surround ourselves with uplifting people, to forgive, to grow, and to live authentically. These choices, when made consistently, create a life filled with happiness. It's not about waiting for happiness to come to us. It's about taking ownership of it, making intentional choices that align with our joy, and allowing that happiness to spread to everyone around us. When we choose happiness, we create a life that's rich with meaning, connection, and fulfillment.